Joining me live now from Curtin University is the Dean of Global Futures, Joe Siracusa. Thanks for your time as always. This moment in US history, does it prove to be one where people come back from the edge of the abyss and the division, or does the division get worse ahead of the presidential election?
Well, I'm afraid it's going to get worse. But look, violence is as American as apple pie, okay? Last weekend, 106 Chicagoans were killed, 18 were murdered on a weekend for no particular reason. We've had 46 presidents, 20 of them have been shot at, 4 or 5 of them have been murdered as part of the deal. And one thing that doesn't come back, Karen, is the president himself. After Ronald Reagan was shot, he was emotionally never the same again. He had no public rallies, and he just was never the same. I'm going to be very interested here to see how President Trump comes back. You know, once you've been shot like this. But look, I have to say, and, you know, I'm 80 years old. I've seen a lot of people shot in my lifetime. I was in this Washington hotel watching the president's address in real time. I was starting to drift asleep, and then I heard the shots, and they weren't fireworks. You know, shots when you hear it. And the adrenaline started pumping. And then I saw the Secret Service and everybody else, and I was thinking, well, you know, we're shocked, but I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. This is a very hard president to cover. He likes golf courses and these open expanses. And let's lay the blame right now on the Secret Service. This is a catastrophic failure of the Secret Service. You don't let these guys off the hook. They left a guy in an elevated position. On other shows that I've seen, the man's already been shot, et cetera. And so that's just unacceptable. So Trump was a sitting duck from there. Now, is it a conspiracy? Is the man who shot him from the left or right? Is he a disgruntled Muslim or Catholic or right-wing, whatever? I mean, we have no idea what his state of mind. And I think of all the people who've shot at presidents in presidential history, they could come from almost anywhere. But look, America is a very violent place. On the other hand, I think this should give Americans pause. You know, Americans have been at fever pitch, left and right, and Biden and this guy and Trump. And so I think this will give Americans pause. I took a walk around Washington after this happened. You know, people were huddled together, left, right, center, you know, but different kinds of people. Yeah. And they were talking very sympathetically about this. These things have an amazing ability to knit people together. And so I'm not as pessimistic. I don't like what Trump's kid said. He said this is an example of the radical left. I mean, when they pull a trigger, it could be anybody on earth pulling the trigger. But I'd like to know if there was a conspiracy here. By that, I'd like to know, did he tell anybody? Did he leave any notes? Were there any clues on the horizon? You know, I'm very curious about how this guy got up on that roof. And of course, he was undetective. And here, this looks like a Hollywood movie. This looks like, you know, something that Wahlberg would do. I mean, this looks like a movie. On the other hand, President Trump is a very lucky man tonight. There were 7 shots fired, and he only got winged in the ear. So I think he's a lucky man.
Oh, indeed. It's so close to being a lot worse in terms of not just President Trump, but if he were to be assassinated, imagine the impact, the presumptive Republican nominee. It was so close to a calamity far greater than what we saw unfold in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and we don't even know who the vice presidential choice is. I mean, and this is actually true. I looked this up a couple of weeks ago. If Trump had been shot, his name would still be on the ticket. So people would be able to vote for a dead man. And of course, after the election, the Democratic Party would replace him with somebody else. So he's on the ticket right up until the end. And so that presumptive nominee is going to, I mean, his vice presidential choice becomes even more important. And I'll tell you one of the things I didn't like about mainstream media here. It took them 2 hours to get the word assassination out of their throats. They could not say Donald Trump. There's an assassination attempt on Donald Trump because they gave him too much cachet, referred to him as former president. They kept saying there was an incident, there was a security incident. And of course, they finally had to say what you had to say when someone tries to shoot a politician or a former president or a prime minister. That is an assassination attempt. Now, look, in many ways, this is going to cement Donald Trump's victory. He's going to get a sympathy vote here. I mean, his people are very angry. They're going to double down and get out that vote. Biden was through. He was toast before this happened. And so now the Democratic establishment is going to be very excited to get him out of office as soon as possible so they could at least salvage as much of the Senate and the House as they can.